Hey everyone, it's Rob Ryder. Today, a how-to video, axing the Gordian knot. Well, actually, Alexing the Gordian knot. How? Well, I'm going to tell Alex through this video, that'd be Alex Jones, that Gilmore versus Jones et al., which is 3:18 CV 00017 GEC, I believe it's in the Western District of Virginia, U.S. District Court. But not just his, all court cases. They are a conspiracy against rights, causing a deprivation of rights under color of law, offending 18 United States Code 241 and 18 United States Code 242. Oh, other ones. And a treason against the United States. So, if we would just call is what it is and alert the right people, maybe things could be done. That's what I'm hoping happens in this video. I watched a recent video, and Alex was saying he had been given incredible power. Not really looking for it, but just given it because he has the platform. And he talks to many, many military people. Well, I'm an 8-year veteran of the military, and I want to talk to them. I have something to tell them. And so hopefully they get it through this. Let's see what we can do with a video. We get some supernatural increase. And so, this is Friday, March 23rd, 2018. Hey, I'm Rob Ryder. My email address is courtofrecord@aol.com. courtofrecord@aol.com. Sorry, but I don't read video comments, right? You got to use that email address if you want to contact me. So how can you contribute to secure your children's freedom? Well, one way is to please donate. And you can do that through PayPal or send it to myself, Robert Allen Ratluski. That would be my full legal name. 10955 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341 8664 in the United States. I am domestic. Okay, so let's see what we need to do first. Where should we start? Got lots to tell you. Let's start right here. Education Day USA. President-elect Donald John Trump versus, a.k.a., also known as Donald J. Trump, usurper. We got a problem. Right now, Donald John Trump is president-elect. He hasn't followed the procedure to be president, Donald John Trump. Instead, he's acting as Donald J. Trump, which isn't the president of the United States, but is someone using a pseudonym that's usurping the powers of the president of the United States. I'm not saying he's doing it on purpose. I'm just saying, hey, is what it is. He's still president-elect because he hasn't followed the procedure. Now, I know people in the military would understand this. Hey, you got to follow the procedure, A to Z. If you don't, well, you could be court-martialed. And that's all we're talking about, is that somebody has, through smoke and mirrors, made it so that the president of the United States isn't taking the office of the president of the United States because he hasn't fulfilled all the requirements. So until Donald John Trump executes all the procedural steps required by the laws of the United States, in his full legal name, Donald John Trump, he is not President of the United States of America. Therefore, he cannot perform the constitutional duties required of the President, such as commission officers of the United States or enforce the laws of the United States. Side note, hey, we have no federal judges because presidents-elect haven't been presidents to commission anybody. So people saying there as judges really aren't judges because they don't have the proper paperwork. We'll get all into that in a second. In fact, let's go through a few things. So, Education Day USA. Why is that important? Well, if you didn't know, in case you didn't know, in the 102nd Congress, March 20th, 1991, Public Law 102-14 came into being. 105 Stat 44, in which it says, now this is a public law, pay attention now, Whereas Congress recognizes the historical tradition of ethical values and principles, which are the basis of civilized society and upon which our great nation was founded, whereas the ethical values and principles have been the bedrock of society from the dawn of civilization when they were known as the 7 Noahide laws. Well, before we go any further, this law just is saying, well, the Constitution isn't what we follow. We follow the 7 Noahide laws. The Congress and the President in 1991. That had been George Bush Sr. Whereas without these ethical values and principles, the edifice of civilization stands in peril of returning to chaos, whereas society is profoundly concerned with the recent weakening of these principles that has resulted in crises that beleaguer and threaten the fabric of civilized society. Well, they're not talking to me, man. I'm under the laws of God in the Constitution of the United States of America. I'm not under the Noahide laws. And yet, that's what they're saying. Hey, we're under the Noahide laws. Whereas the justified preoccupation with these crises must not let the citizens of this nation, what nation, lose sight of their responsibility to transmit these historical, ethical values from our distinguished past. Well, that would be Talmudic Judaism, to the generations of the future. I don't want to participate. And it goes on a little bit more, blah, 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 blah. But hey, what do I care? I'm just telling you, man, that they believe, whoever they are, believe that we are governed by the 7 Noahide laws. They have put the laws of man before the laws of God. From the beginning. Right? They're not ever following the laws of God. They're not following the New Testament. They're not following the Old Testament. They're following the 7 Noahide laws. Well, that would be a problem. And so, 105 Stat 44, Public Law 102.14, March 20th, 1991. It goes on to say in this thing that every year the president should give a proclamation about Education Day. Right, because this was to designate March 26th. Well, that'd be 3 days from now. It'd be anniversary. 1991 is Education Day USA. Well, if that's when it's done, this is a pretest. You know what's happening. Right? Now, I'm not saying that Donald John Trump is doing this on purpose. I'm just saying this is what he's up against. So you need to call him, Alex, and say, dude, you've been lied to, right? Don't trust the people that are talking to you, or at least all of them. I shouldn't say that. Some are probably really good people. I'm sure most of them are. We're all being lied to. Let's continue on. That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to continue on. You guys figure it out. So we have no federal judges. The Congressional Research Service, Library of Congress, can research exactly what needs to be done to provide step-by-step procedure, and the military can make sure it's followed. Now, this is what Donald John Trump needs to do. You got to call these people and have them write you a procedure, and then just follow the steps. Check, 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 check. This is the Library of Congress that does this. And here's an example of, the work these people put out, just to show you it's not for nothing. Where are you? There you are. Because I want to be able to start closing some of these out. Right? The appointment process of U.S. Circuit and District Court nominations, an overview. Get a hold of Dennis Stephen Rutkus. I've tried before, but he wouldn't email me back. Right? But maybe if the guys with the guns would go talk to Dennis, he might tell you how things need to be done. They have access to information here. And so we're going to just skip ahead and go to the page that for this video, right? After confirmation, post-Senate appointment steps, right? But before they could make it to the Senate, the senators need to be seated, and we're going to see that they're not. And the president really isn't the president, so he couldn't have selected anybody. And so nobody who says that they're a district court or circuit court judge is, until they can show that they have complied with these steps, right? President signs commissions. Upon notification of nominee's confirmation, the president performs the next step in the appointment process, the signing of nominee's commission. The commission is a formal document empowering the nominee to assume judicial office, which the president must sign before the nominee may begin his or her new duties. The date of the nominee's commission is the date the president signs it, which usually occurs within a few days of Senate confirmation. But he has to be the president first. And you can't sign a contract in anything but your full legal name. Just Google legal name. That's what it's for. Right? So Donald J. Trump doesn't exist. It's not anybody's legal name. Like you couldn't use that on an oath of office to say, well, that's who took the oath. No. Your full legal name is your first name, middle name, last name. No initials, no nicknames. Oath of office goes on to tell you what they need to do, and they combine a couple of oaths and so forth and so on. But they don't take the one oath they really need to take, which is the one found in 1 Stat 23. So I don't want to go through all this. I'm just saying, hey, this is the kind of stuff these people put out, right? So they can write you a procedure that could be understood by a non-commissioned officer to take to the president and say, okay, we're going to start at the top, sir. We're going to go to the bottom. When we're done, I'm going to sign it, and you'll be president. There you are, right? Make sure that they follow the procedure. And the reason that's really important is the enlisted take an oath to the president of the United States. That's who their oath is to. Commissioned officers don't, but if the president wants to have the power of the military, he needs to take the proper oath of office to do it. Do you want to save? No. Okay. Where was I? So that's those people. There's no one seated in Congress because none of the imposters acting as senators or representatives have a certificate of election in their full legal name. Right? So they could write a procedure to tell you how they're supposed to have done it, the members of the Senate. But we'll get into where the evidence is. Signed by the governor, countersigned by the Secretary of State. Check with the Secretary of the Senate and Clerk of the House for evidence they are supposed to have on file. Right? Because all this stuff is supposed to be evidenced by documentary evidence. Now let me show you something. Gosh darn it, I don't have it open. Where is that? Okay. This is evidence of treason is what it is, but what it's supposed to be, what they're claiming it to be, is from the state of Minnesota, from a governor called Tim Pawlenty, which of course is not anybody's legal name. That's a nickname. Tim. That's not his name. It's Timothy. You can look it up online. He's got a first name. Or, we could call it a given name, which some people call their first and middle name, but it's a given name. And that isn't it. And this certificate of election for 6 years to certify that on the 4th day of November 2008, Al Franken was duly chosen and by the qualified electors of the state of Minnesota as senator, blah, 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 blah. Well, there's nobody named Al Franklin or Franken. That's not his name. He's got 3 names. What is his name? Let's look him up. Let's just Google him. Al Franken. Al Franken. Alan Stewart Franken, born May 21st, 1951, is an American comedian, writer, producer, author, and politician. Well, that isn't who they said, as you can see, is on this frickin' document. Sorry, my button is freezing up. I got too many things open. Okay, so, do we have to put up with this? This is what I want the military to find out. This is what I want Alex Jones to find out. These people aren't using their full legal name. right? Mark Ritchie, I'm sure, is not this guy's full legal name. None of these people are using their full legal name. So these documents cannot be legal. And therefore, there isn't any senator from Minnesota. The offices are vacated. Vacant, I guess it is. Maybe better said. But continuing on. Before we do that, because I had one more that went with that. Before we talk about the Supreme Court and them not being who they say they are, let's look at the standing rules of the Senate. Right? Standing rules of the Senate revised January 24, 2013. Document 11318. Now, of course, I can only get these online. I don't have access to the real deal. But I will say it's got a blue border on it, and that's, supposed to certify by the Superintendent of Documents, the United States Government Printing Office, right, that this is what the law is. And it says in Rule 2, the presentation of credentials of senators elect or senators designate and other questions of privilege shall always be in order, except during the reading and correction of the journal, while question order, blah, 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 blah. The Secretary shall keep a record of the certificates of election and certificates of appointment of senators by entering in a well-bound book kept for that purpose the date of the election and appointment, the name of the person elected and appointed, the date of the certificate, the name of the governor, the Secretary of State, signing and countersigning the same, and the state from which the senator-elect is elected or appointed. Well, can somebody from the military please go see the Secretary of the Senate and say, hey, I want to look at your books. It's time to audit their books. And there's nobody better to do that than the military. That's what I'm doing. I'm just auditing what they do, right? I don't really care what they say we did. It's how are they doing it? They're not following their own procedures, then I don't have to do anything except tell them you're not following your procedures. And if you keep it up, I'm going to have you arrested. And that's where we're at now, trying to get an arrest warrant issued. So, the justices of the Supreme Court are not using their full legal name in allegedly legal matters, compromising the full faith and credit given their judicial proceedings, or any judicial proceedings. There's no judges anywhere that use their full legal name. They all use a middle initial or some variation of their name. Attorneys don't use their name. CPAs don't use their name. Bankers don't use their name. None of these professionals are using their name. And they never signed the contracts. So there is no contract with them. Court cases, like yours, Alex, are a simulated legal process that violate the Constitution. It could be construed as treason. I'm going to show you the evidence. But so are foreclosures, debt collection, property taxes, IRS cases, traffic cases, child support cases, civil cases, criminal cases, in state or federal, are done in fraud by using legal fictions to conceal identification by a full legal name, which is the only name that you can use for something that's legal, like a contract or a court case. It's your identification. So here's some things you find interesting, Alex. Go look at the grant deed, or whatever you call it in Texas for your house. The grantee on your home's deed is an unregistered legal fiction. It's not you. It should be you in your full legal name, but when you go look at the line where it says grantee, anybody now, go find your deed. See who the property was granted to. It will be a legal fiction. It'll be parts of your name and maybe a single man or Robert A. and Kimberly A. Ritluski, a married couple, or something like. They create this legal fiction, whatever it is. And then they don't register. But the grantee then is doing business in that name, and so technically it's an unregistered legal fiction that you are doing business under, so you have actually committed a crime. And so what you should do is have them put it in your full legal name. But if you don't do that, go do a DBA and claim the name that's on the grantee line, because the deed says he has fee simple title, and if you have fee simple title, you ain't got to pay no taxes, except to the king. But the king doesn't collect real estate taxes. Those are local. It's not the king that puts that tax on you. Caesar didn't tax your land. He taxes other things. Those are all local taxes. All property taxes are local taxes. And they don't have any jurisdiction to claim a tax on you because they're not the government. They're just pretending to be. Getting back to this, the borrower on the deed of trust or mortgage, so this is the thing where you said you borrowed all this money. Guess what? It's also a legal fiction. It's not you. It's not your name. Again, it'll be some combination of words to make it look like you, but it isn't you. So you didn't borrow any money from the bank. And the lender on the deed of trust did not sign the contract and is not registered to do business in your state. The lender did not lend you any money, and it did not sign the contract. If you take the name of the lender just the way you see it on your mortgage, and you go and try to find it having licenses to do business in your state to, do mortgages, they don't have one. Right? They'll take like National Association and put NA instead. Well, that isn't the same as National Association, right? So they're not using the proper name of an entity that you can go to your Secretary of State and say, this company has a license to do business in the state. They don't, and they didn't sign it. It's fraud. F-R-A-U-D, fraud. Nobody borrowed anybody any money. The only money involved in this is $10 or less, and it has something to do with transferring the title. The name on the actual title, which is more like a cadastral survey, which shows a box, to define the land. It has your name on it. It says you own it. They don't use a proper legal description on foreclosures or any other paperwork. Blah, 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 blah. It goes on and on and on. I've done many videos on this stuff, Alex. I know what I'm talking about. I just don't have time to go through it all right now, so we're just going to skip along. But hey, this is for the military. Alex, we are already under martial law. We have been since 1863. What we do not have now is a commander-in-chief because he hasn't taken the proper oaths of office. We also do not have commissioned federal judges because there's no president to commission them. So these people that are in the courts, they're not federal judges under the Constitution. They can't be because the president isn't the president-elect isn't the president. Now, the great thing is we're going to see is that Congress gave all the power to the president under these emergency acts. And if he was to become president, he doesn't need anybody's permission. They've already given it to him. They're just not telling him that to go and do A, B, and C, the 1, 2, and 3 necessary to follow a procedure for you to go from being president-elect to being the president. So, CRS, we talked about them earlier, has reports written step by step. Hey, I think I showed that to you. Well, they could do the same thing. Just go tell them, write one for the president. To go from president-elect to the president, and go watch him do it, and don't leave until it's done. And if you got to do it again, we'll get back in line and do it again. It's a go, no-go. Military, this isn't hard. They're not doing it right. Why is that important? Well, because under Title 10, United States Code, Chapter 13, Insurrection, whenever the president considers that unlawful obstructions, combinations, or assemblages or rebellion against the authority of the United States make it impracticable to enforce the laws of the United States in any state by ordinary course of judicial proceeding, there aren't no judges, he may call into federal service such militia of any state and use such of the armed forces as he considers necessary to enforce those laws or suppress the rebellion. Now, the people they're talking about right there, those would be people at the post office. You need to nationalize them and make them all members of the militia. A postal employee or officer takes almost the exact same oath as a commissioned officer of the military, except for the first line, what the office is. The rest of it is word for word the same. So put them under orders. But to do that, you got to be the president. President-elect Donald John Trump. Just one more step, sir. And I can salute you. In Title 10, United States Code, Section 712, it says, upon the application of the country concerned, the president, whenever he considers it in the public interest, may detail members of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps to assist in military matters. 1. Any republic in North America, Central America, or South America. And if we were to look at the rest of that law, it also says, subject to prior approval of the Secretary of the Military Department concerned, a member detailed under this section may accept any office from the country to which he is detailed. So what you need to understand now is that the Republic of North America is the United States of America, where the is part of the name. Where United States of America is the democracy, and it's actually King George III's successors, subjects, who are still here. That's what the whole Constitution was about. We're going to end the hostilities, right? People still wanted to be loyal to the king, but they didn't want to have to give up all their property, and so they came up with this thing where the President of the United States is supposed to make sure that those in King George's jurisdiction that stayed here follow the rules. But there isn't anybody in the office of president, so they're not following the rules. But the Republic is the United States of America. So just so that I've said it, I'm asking President-elect Donald John Trump, right, to have them accept the office of judges, and we need some lowercase district court judges so we can clear this mess up. The remedy has been written into the law by President Lincoln, and we'll get to that in just a second, right? But the things he did before he declared martial law are the things we could use now to reset the table. Okay, where are we? Hey, because we are under martial law, Field Manual 2710, the Law of Land Warfare, is in effect right now. And in there, it says that the law of war is binding not only on states, but also upon individuals, and in particular, the members of their armed forces. And there's a treaty, and then there's certain treaties that come into effect, and one of them is the Treaty of Protection of Artistic and Scientific Institutions and Historical Monuments, called the Roerich Peace Pact, right, which the United States is a member of. And so they have to protect these institutions and their members. And brother, I got a library card, so you need to protect me by treaty, because we're under the law of war, the law of land warfare right now. Okay, some simple proof, right? Just go look at the Treaty of Peace, 1783, and read the first paragraph. And it'll be King George III speaking about himself and who the different players are. And he says that he's the prince of the kingdom, the United States of America. And if you go look at the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union, Article 1 says the style of this confederacy shall be the United States of America. They're not the same thing. The United States of America is the republic. We're self-governing. The United States of America is a democracy. It has a president. Donald John Trump isn't my president. He's the president of the United States. I'm self-governing in the republic. I'm just not recognized as being there yet. But that's where I'm trying to get to. And does it exist? Yes, it exists, because if you look at your money on the Federal Reserve notes, it says the United States of America. The Federal Reserve is in the republic. If you look at a passport, it says United States of America. You, us, we are in the democracy, but not under our full legal name. They'll never use your full legal name in the democracy, because they can't let it be known that you exist. Because if it was known that you existed in your full legal name officially in the United States, then you would be protected by everything that you think is evil right now. Then it would have to protect you. Okay, hey, we're going to get to your court case in a minute, Alex, but this is just things that people need to know, so I got to start somewhere. So, if you were to go look at 6 CFR, which is Code of Federal Regulations, Part 37, Real ID, driver's license, identification cards, right? Identification cards, identification cards, identification cards. What are they? Those are the cards that have identification, right? When they say who goes there, this is what they want to see, your identification. And in there, a definition of full legal name. Full legal name means an individual's first name, middle names, last name, or surname without use of initials or nicknames. Now, Alex, go look at your court case or go look at the bills you're getting from your attorney, any paperwork they sign. Attorneys don't use their full legal name. They use a middle initial or a first initial or some other variation of their full legal name, but they don't use their full legal name. Neither is the judge in your court case. Neither is the judge in the court case against Donald John Trump that they just opened today, saying that he violated the emollient clause of the Constitution. Right? He took cash from or gifts or something. Right? That's got the same problem. That attorney didn't use his full legal name. So where does it start? Okay, you got to go to 1 Stat 23, which is an act to regulate the time and manner of its administering certain oaths. And the reason you have to do that is not because I said so, but because it says so in the act, that be it enacted by the Senate and representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that the oath or affirmation required by the 6th article of the Constitution of the United States shall be administered in the form following, to wit, I, state your name, do solemnly swear and affirm, as the case may be, that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Period. Nothing else. Shall be administered in the form following, to wit, I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear or affirm, as the case may be, that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Period. Not only you, Mr. President, every officer, state or federal, has to take this oath. And not only take this oath, this act says they have to record it. And so if it isn't recorded, they haven't complied with the 6th article of the Constitution, and therefore you cannot be constitutionally seated in your office. See how easy that was? We'll just hide it here. In what is the very first law of the very first Congress. 1 Stat 23 was the first law passed by the United States Congress after ratification of the U.S. Constitution. It was signed by President George Washington on June 1st, 1789. And parts of it remain in the books. The whole thing does. It's a law. You can't get rid of it. Well, they pulled parts out to put in codes, but here's the law. 1 Stat 23. It's in the statutes at large, and those are the laws. So, there we are. You got to comply with that. And then if you look at Title II, United States Code, Chapter 1, it'll talk about elections of senators and representatives and, about them pieces of paper. That could have showed you for Al Franken, right, where they got to be in a certain place. They got to take a certain oath. They got to do this, that, and the other thing. And unless they've done it, they're not sitting in office. And they're not. There's a thing called the Labor Code, or that's what I would call it. It does have a different name. You'd have to Google it for the proper name, but it has to do with the laws of war. And Article 2 says martial law does not cease during the hostile occupation except by special proclamation ordered by the commander-in-chief or by special mention in a treaty of peace concluding war when the occupation of the place or territory continues beyond the conclusion of peace as one of the conditions of the same, blah, 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 blah. Well, how do we know that we're under martial law? Or we could call it martial government now, I guess, but how do you know you're under martial law? Well, because there's gold fringe flags in the courtrooms. Now, this is Army Regulation 840-10, flags, guidelines, streamers, and blah, 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 right? In Chapter 2, flag of the United States, the flag of the United States is the symbol of our nation. National flags listed below, this is Chapter 2, Section 2.3, are for indoor display, and hey, they got 3 sides got gold fringe, 2.5 inches wide. A little bit further on in 2.7, it says use of and display by civilians. The use and display of the U.S. flag by civilians. Civilian groups and organizations are governed under 36 United States Code 173. Civilians who inquire about the display of the U.S. flag should be referred to the statute, which I believe it will take them to Title 4 of the United States Code, having to do with the flag. But that flag doesn't have gold fringe on it, right? So you can't use a flag with gold fringe in a civilian courtroom. But they are used in military courtrooms. And I'm just telling you, if you go into any court, you're going to see a gold fringe flag. State or local. If you go into your township hall, there'll be a gold fringe flag. If you go to the city hall, there'll be a gold fringe flag. Heck, there's gold fringe flags in the church. Look at a Catholic church. Just go up there to, look to the left. There's a gold fringe flag of the United States sitting in there. Why? Well, because the United States Catholic Conference of Bishops is really a federal corporation. It isn't part of the Vatican. It's a federal corporation. It's got an EIN number. And not as a foreign entity, no, as as something that was established here in the United States. Because, you can be a foreign entity and come over and be accepted and be under the laws of your foreign entity, but that isn't what they did. No, they created their own entity called the United States Catholic Conference of Bishops, which is actually tied to the war effort and so forth and so on. And I was going to do a video on it back in the day, and I just never did. But yeah. Also, the United States Postal Service has no board of governors and cannot seat a quorum of 6 governors to conduct the business of the United States Postal Service. This is a violation of the Postal Reorganization Act, Postal Policy, and is unconstitutional. Right? So if you look at Title 39, United States Code, and look for the section Postal Policy, which is like Section 101, it'll say that, that it has to be there, and it has to be it has to do with the Constitution. Well, there's nobody there. There isn't a quorum of 6 governors to do the business of the Postal Service. The Post Office, they do not cancel postage stamps with black ink at the Office of Mailing anymore, which is evidence of domestic mailing of first-class mail. Right? They're concealing the fact that we're using first-class mail. And I know it's just a little thing, but to them it's a jot and tittle, right? And it's a matter of these jots and tittles that if they're not done, then you aren't who you say you are. And so if they don't cancel your mail with a black cancel postmark at the post office of mailing, then there's no evidence that you sent it domestically. So you're not in the United States, so therefore you're not protected by the Constitution. So where's some of the remedy going to be found? Well, if you look at a thing called the Preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, which was September 22nd, 1862, you'll see that President Lincoln, who was president of the lowercase, so not the Republic, he's the president of the democracy, United States of America, King George's people. I, Abraham Lincoln, and that is his full legal name because he didn't have a middle name. I, Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States of America, and Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy thereof, do hereby proclaim and declare that hereafter, as heretofore, the war will be prosecuted for the object of practically restoring the constitutional relation between the United States and each of the states and the people thereof, in which states the relation is or may be suspended or disturbed. Right? This is the reset button. Now, in there, he referenced a couple of other acts, and anything else by reference, is incorporated into the act that you're talking about. So, an act to make addition article of war, that would be something, right? Because those articles of war, that's what the military is supposed to follow. They don't need the commander-in-chief. If the articles of war are there, just follow those. Right? We want the commander-in-chief to be in, but you don't need him to be there. That's what I'm saying. What do you do when the commander-in-chief's dead? What is the military supposed to do? Right? It'll be in the articles of war. I'm sure of it. It's got to be in your record someplace. An act to suppress insurrection, to punish treason, rebellion, to seize and confiscate property of rebels, and for other purposes. Those acts are on the books. They're in this preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, which I alluded to earlier, but if we look at it now, here it is. And and the fact that any state or the people thereof shall on that day be in good faith represented in Congress of the United States by members chosen thereto at elections wherein the majority of the qualified voters of such state shall have participated, shall, in the absence of strong countervailing testimony, be deemed conclusive evidence that the state and the people thereof are not then in rebellion against the United States. Now look at this, says the state, capital S state, and people thereof. The senators, they represent the state. And the representatives are supposed to represent the people. But they don't, because they're not there. Right? So there is nobody representing the state. There is nobody representing the people, because their frickin' paperwork is it's a sham. The best they have is Al Franken paper. Right? And it just ain't working, man. This is Al Franken's paper. This ain't Alan, middle name Franken, by Tim Paulenti, who doesn't exist. Right? This is an act of treason. Witnessed by two people in open court. I say, hey, that's all the evidence you need that Al Franken committed treason. And so did Tim Paulenti. And so did Mark Ritchie. They stole the seal of the state of Minnesota. I mean, come on, Army. Is there something you can do about that? Jeepers creepers, man. You need more? Well, I'll give you some more. In an act relating to habeas corpus and regulating judicial proceedings on March 3rd, 1863, one, and allow for the cessation of issuing writs of habeas corpus. I don't know anybody who's ever had any luck getting a writ of habeas corpus issued. I believe it's still being through this act, right? It's in cessation, right? But it does have a procedure to clear your good name, right? Even though it did cease issuing writs of habeas corpus, it gives you a way to clear your good name, provided, however, that no person shall be discharged by virtue of provisions of this act until after he or she have taken an oath of allegiance to the United States of America and support the Constitution thereof. Well, how about I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. That's that is an oath. It's a pledge. If you Google it, it'll tell you it's an oath. Okay, so they've made everybody political prisoners, but the answer is everybody go take an oath of allegiance and sign a piece of paper and do this or that. And that could all be done at the post office, Alex. Right? They only make people register for the draft at the post office. Right? Whatever is supposed to have happened can happen through the post office. It's a matter of correcting the books. In fact, it would be the same as Mary and Joseph going to Bethlehem to register as going to the post office to register. Because there has to be a civil authority ordained by God, and whether it's Caesar or whoever, it's whoever it is. And as long as you're Caesar's taxpayer and recognized as such, well, you're protected by Caesar. Ask the Apostle Paul. He used it more than once to get himself out of trouble. Civil Rights Act 1866 incorporates the above act and defines equal protection. And so this is what they're doing right now, right? If you look at the Civil Rights Act 1866, Statement of Equal Rights, all persons within the jurisdiction of the United States. Well, where is that? That's the territory of the United States. If you're within the territory of the United States, then you're under the jurisdiction of the United States. Right? The United States District Court is a territory that has within it all the land of the United States. It's just one, the United States District. All persons within the jurisdiction of the United States shall have the same right in every state and territory to make and enforce contracts, sue, be parties, give evidence, and this is what they do not allow us to do. We cannot give evidence. You don't give evidence to the court clerk, you give it to the court. Clerk of the court, the one that works for the judge, because they keep evidence separate from the other parts of the proceedings. And they're hiding that from us. We've not been able to put any evidence into a court case. And there is no evidence in a court case. Because nobody's using their full legal name, so they can't swear to it. Right? It's all hearsay. And to the full and equal benefit of all laws, proceedings, and the security of persons and property as is enjoyed by white citizens and shall be subject to like punishment, pains, penalties, taxes, licenses, and so forth. White citizens. Who are they anyways? Did you know that Thomas Jefferson's love interest, slave girl, was actually 3/4 white? And yet she was a slave. Go figure, right? It ain't just black. Anybody of mixed color is a slave, right? And so white doesn't have anything to do with your skin tone. It's a class of people. Which class did you fall into? And at the very beginning, in the first Constitution, people want to go back to the original Constitution. No, you don't, man, because you're not white. It only applied to white citizens. But this took care of that. Okay. I had other things I wanted to look at just to go through these. So, first of all, this is for the military. Just so you know that I did. Yes, I did. I'm a staff sergeant in the United States Army. And not only that, I made E6 in 5 years, 8 months, and a few days. Back in the 80s. Back during the Cold War. It's kind of like unheard of. You know, it's pretty quick. We weren't at war back in the day. I just got to observe a lot. And I tell you this because I'm afraid that they've messed with our records. Right? Now, like I said, I know a guy who, I call him Handcuff John, who was on the communications detail for George Bush Sr. as an enlisted member, and used to sit in the Oval Office with the president. Right? So, Mr. Trump, that guy sitting over there, you know, that military guy, that Army guy, that's who John was back during the time of George Bush Sr. Well, John is no longer in the military, and he's actually a Mennonite. And so he's had some run-ins with the law because he doesn't think he has to have a driver's license or carry an ID, or, you know, he's going by the Constitution. Well, he got pulled over one time, and, you know, they finally figured out who he was, and the cop or whoever it was that stopped and said, you know, he said he couldn't believe that a man with his background would be an enemy of the state. So, you know, John, Handcuffed John, communications detail in the White House, just a guy who joined the military and, you know, because he volunteered or because whatever the reasons were, ends up being on the communications detail for the president, is told that he's, you know, basically, although not getting to see it, he's an enemy of the state according to the records. Well, that's a problem. So I don't know what mine might say, because I didn't have a normal military career either. Just go look at my records. But that's who I am. Okay, I'm done with me. Look at this. Look at this report. 93rd Congress, first session, report 93-549, Emergency Power Statutes. Report of the Special Committee on the Termination of National Emergency, United States Senate, November 19th, 1973. In the foreword, it says, since March 9th, 1993, the United States has been in a state of declared national emergency. Well, it's actually been before that, but that's okay. Let's just say it's since 1933. In fact, there are now, in effect, 4 presidentially proclaimed states of national emergency. In addition to the national emergency declared by President Roosevelt in 1993, there are also national emergency proclaimed by President Truman for the Korean conflict and the national emergency declared by President Nixon. One was for the post office, as a matter of fact. I'm not really sure what the other one is. But these proclamations give force to 470 provisions of federal law. These proclamations give force to 470 provisions of federal law. Well, those laws would have been written by Congress, right? So if they energize these provisions of law, well, it's because that's how Congress wanted it done. These hundreds of statutes delegate to the president extraordinary powers ordinarily exercised by the Congress, which affect the lives of American citizens in a host of all-encompassing manners. This vast range of powers, taken together, confer enough authority to rule the country without reference to normal constitutional processes. You have all the power you need, sir. You just need to go sign the paperwork and become President Donald John Trump. Under the powers delegated by these statutes, the president may seize property, organize and control the means of production. That'd be capitalism. Seize commodities, assign military forces abroad, institute martial law, seize and control all transportation and communications, regulate the operation of private enterprises, restrict travel, and in a plethora of particular ways, control the lives of all American citizens. And it goes on and on and on. This is, quite the read. I'm not going to read it all, but you got all the power, sir. A majority of people of the United States have lived all their lives under emergency rule. The only ones that wouldn't have were the ones that weren't born here. But if you were born here, you were born during a national emergency. Okay, now what's the evidence that we still have national emergencies? Well, go to the Federal Register and put in national emergency, and you'll see that in the last 30 days, heck, there were 13 references entered on national emergency. Continuation of national emergency with respect to Iran. Continuation of national emergency with respect to Ukraine. Continuation of national emergency with respect to Zimbabwe, Venezuela. Hey, apparently we still have national emergencies going on. Adjusting imports of steel into the United States. Right? Security production requirements in a national emergency. Critical industries in a national emergency. Executive orders relating to the national emergency, declared an executive order something or other. Right? North Korean sanctions. Apparently, we still have national emergencies. Well, here's a national emergency. This is the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, CAFR, of the County of Kent, Michigan, which is where I live. But I believe it should be Kent County, not County of Kent. There is no County of Kent. You can't find any evidence that the County of Kent exists legally as an arm of the government. I'm not saying there couldn't be a business called County of Kent, Michigan, right? That's done as a partnership or a sole proprietorship, and it's being hid someplace because it's not in the state records. But if you were to look at this and understand that these numbers here, right, add 3 zeros to the end, and so this is the net, right, net assets. These are the net assets. Forget everything else they say. These are the net assets. Here's the total net assets, and so that would be $474,646,000. Now, did they change this? Because now that is millions. It can't be billions. But it could be because we're talking trillions of dollars of stuff. Anyways, in the older ones, it used to be times 1,000. They may have changed it because this is a relatively new one. 474,646,299. $474,646,299 in total assets. And that's for government activities. And then for business type activities, add another 166 million for a total of $641 million. And then component units, which seems to be another number, right? Not having anything to do with these numbers, it's just another number. So another $740 million in net assets. So it's at least $1.2 billion that the county of Kent, Michigan, which is the thing that collects taxes, property taxes, already has. Why would they need any more money? Right? This is after everything's paid. Total net position. So, but who are they? I don't know who they are. Because I thought this was Kent County. It's the political subdivision of the state of Michigan. There's nothing called the County of Kent. And this is the, this was the comprehensive annual financial report. December 31st, 2016. County of Kent, Michigan. Comprehensive annual financial report. That all these people here, when they ran for office, right, these elected officers, they ran as Kent County Commissioners. But here they're called County of Kent, Michigan, elected officers. It's so confusing. It's like it was done on purpose. Seems like it's a scheme. And I can close that one. And, okay, here's an interesting tidbit. In 5 United States Code 7311, loyalty and striking, an individual may not accept or hold a position in the government of the United States or government of the District of Columbia if he advocates the overthrow of our constitutional form of government or is a member of an organization that he knows advocates the overthrow of our constitutional form of government, participates in a strike, asserts the right to strike against the government of the United States, is a member of an organization or employee of the government, employees of the government of the United States, or of individuals employed by the government of the District of Columbia, that he knows asserts the rights to strike against the government of the United States or the government of the District of Columbia. It has a lot to do with striking, but what it also had to do with is loyalty, right? Is a member of an organization that he knows advocates the overthrow of our constitutional form of government. Well, I would say that's what the bars are that attorneys belong to. Because for an attorney to be an attorney, they have to give up their right of free speech. Well, that's, messing with the Constitution. And, here, you could read this. Google it, you find it yourself. The intersection of free speech and legal profession. Boardman Law Review. Lawyers' freedom of speech is constrained in many ways that no one would challenge seriously under the First Amendment. Right? So under the First Amendment, their freedom of speech has been constrained. Well, then they joined an organization that is against our constitutional form of government, that has freedom of speech. Kick him out of office would be the answer. All righty. Hang on just a minute here. Okay, so what I did, Alex, now I'm ready to talk about your court case. I hope you're still watching, or you have somebody watching. So here's what's going on. Had to do with them attorneys. Middle initial names, hiding identities and so forth. The very first piece of paper into your case for getting the complaint or the additions, the very first piece of paper is this thing called a civil cover sheet. And contained in here, replace, supplement with filing, service of pleadings. Neither replace or supplement the filing and service of pleadings and other papers as required by law, except as provided by local rules of court. This form approved by the Judicial Conference of the United States in September 1974 is required for use of the clerk of court for the purpose of initiating the civil docket sheet. See instructions on next page of this form. And so I took this piece of paper and just went with the things I already know, and I wrote a complaint, Alex, because I know that there's many errors in this, and that it's a simulated legal process under color of law, and that's a violation of like 18 U.S.C. 241 and 18 U.S.C. 242, and well, I should be able to have an arrest warrant issued under 18 U.S.C. In fact, I need to pull that one up because that's one I don't have yet. 18 U.S.C. 3041. Power of courts and magistrates, where it says, for any offense against the United States, the offender may, by any justice or judge of the United States, or by any United States magistrate judge, or by any chancellor, judge of Supreme or Superior Court, chief or first judge of the common pleas, mayor of a city, so you could use a mayor, justice of the peace, or other magistrate, and that's that or other magistrate that just opens it up to so many different people. Because the president is the chief magistrate of the United States. Right? So a clerk of an office is a magistrate of the office. Of any state wherein the offender may be found and at the expense of the United States be arrested or imprisoned. So what this is saying is, make the offense against the United States and say the laws of the United States have been violated. Not that you've been violated, but the United States have been violated. And then all these people should be able to issue an arrest warrant. And so I sent my complaint or my information, my report, my whatever you want to call it, to the District Court of the United States. Now, I had sent things before, and so I had this address here, right, where it says official business. I said, hey, that has to be the official business of what? The United States District Court. Grand Rapids, Michigan. So I'm going to send them something else. But to show you that there's differences, right, see what this one is. This says United States District Court. Where this one says clerk of the U.S. District Court. Right? It doesn't say office of clerk on one line, and then there's no comma there. There's, right, clerk of U.S. District Court. Office of clerk, United States District Court. Now, I know this one says Chicago, Illinois, but it would be the same here in Michigan, as it would be the same there for this in Chicago, right? They'll have a United States District Court. Office of the clerk, it's, you know, it's the United States District Court. And so I sent, how I sent. So what I did is I had found before, I did a video on this, that in my opinion, we weren't sending first class mail because they don't cancel the stamps at the post office anymore. But there is a way to do it, and that would be to put your envelope inside of a priority mail envelope, which is a form of first class mail, but it's first class package, and then say on it first class mail enclosed, because that's one of the requirements under the postal laws to do, and cancel a stamp, which I did for the postage of the, you know, for the envelope that's inside of the mailing. And I sent this to United States District Court, 110 Michigan Street Northwest, Suite 452, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Now, it decided, because I put in the +4 zip code, that it was STE 452, I would have been happy for it to say office of the clerk, but it wouldn't let it do it that way. So you might want to, Alex, send somebody, one of your military contacts, to the clerk of the United States District Court in Grand Rapids and ask them, what they did with my paperwork, which has been received now. Right, this was all done just this week. There's the tracking number. Right, you can stop and write her down. Expected delivery date was 3/21/18, and well, according to the records, it did make it. And the complaint I sent then had to do with this cover sheet, and this is what it said. People of the United States, Robert Allen Rytlewski, witness, 10955 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341, United States. FEIN, Federal Employer Identification Number, 82-3654127. And if you haven't done this, Alex, again, these are things you need to start asking questions about. See, if you have a sole proprietorship or you're doing business in any other name than your own, you need to have a DBA. But you are doing business in your name, and so you need to register in your full legal name, Robert Allen Rytlewski in my case, with the IRS as a sole proprietorship. On a SS4 form, 4 or 5. One's for the Social Security, the other one's for IRS. I believe it's SS4. They'll give you an FEIN number, which they did. And so the Internal Revenue Service, United States Treasury, they agree that my name is Robert Allen Rytlewski, and I'm doing business in my name and where my address is. They didn't before. We never registered, right? And if you were to do this, then as an individual, when you did your taxes, you would do it as a sole proprietor, not an individual. And you would use the Schedule C to the 1040 form as a sole proprietor. That's what I believe should happen. But, we should get somebody that knows more about these things to check it out. That's why I like the guys with the guns to go ask some questions. United States District Court. Attention, clerk, United States District Court. R.E. Praecipe, which is an order to the clerk, United States District Court, to issue process for the arrest of Andrew Charles Mendrella, accused, for warring with the Constitution and other felonies against the United States, that I, Robert Allen Rytlewski, am the relator and witness for God of. I, Robert Allen Rytlewski, witness, depose and swear that the accused did file a civil cover sheet, form SS44, to initiate an original proceeding as case number 318 CV 00017 GEC, Gilmore versus Jones et al., in federal court. Accused omits material facts and makes materially false, fictitious, or fraudulent statements, representations, resulting in treason and other high crimes against the United States and its people. Is what it is. Clerk, take notice. I shall make your conscience fully aware of the accused scheme to war with the Constitution, commit a fraud and swindle upon the people of the United States, inflict deprivation of rights under color of law on residents of the United States, and the offense of other laws of the United States. Please see the enclosed image of the civil cover sheet, JS44 of 318 CB 00017 GEC, for adjudicated facts that evidence his guilt. Certain of these facts I have elaborated upon in the following points. Now, normally I would not have written my complaint this way, but I was using it as a teaching tool also. So we're just going to kind of go through it now and see, well, what did they not do or what did they do wrong? But I want to keep closing things out so my computer works a little better. Okay, civil cover sheet. Plaintiff, Gilmore Brennan M. That does not look like a full legal name to me. What it looks like is a thing they call the true full name. Truefull name. True full name. If you Google true full name, you will see that California says that's the way they do it on their driver's licenses. And then if you look at images of driver's licenses, you'll see, hey, it's last name, first name. And in your first name, it can be two names or it can have an initial. They got many examples. Just look at images on Google after you Google California driver's license and Google images and just look at how they do it. They use what's called the true full name. That's what this is. But it's not your full legal name. And 6 CFR 37.3 said your full legal name is your first name, middle name, last name, no initials. There's nothing here that says this is this man's last name. It's just the way he did it. And this style of name is your true full name. It's not your full legal name. But what did I tell them? Well, I said plaintiff Gilmore Brennan M. has no legal standing in the United States. That would be true. This style of name is insufficient for identification in a legal matter. 6 CFR 37.3 defines an individual's full legal name, used for identification as an individual's first name, middle names, last names, or surnames without the use of initials or nicknames. The use of Gilmore, Brennan M. as plaintiff is a false statement offending 18 U.S.C. 1001. I really don't need to go any further, right? Violation 18 U.S.C. 1001 is all it took to make General, sorry, sir, I forgot your name at this moment, have to leave his office. It'll come to me just here recently. But wait, there's more. Albemarle County is insufficient to identify plaintiff's county of residence. Where is that at? Well, it's right here, county of residence. A first listed plaintiff. Albemarle County. It omits any state Albemarle County is administrative political subdivision of. As no state is claimed to support diversity jurisdiction, said jurisdiction does not exist in the United States for the plaintiff. Right? This doesn't have any state attached to it. There is, if it's going to be in the United States, it needs to be in one of the 50 states or the District of Columbia, and there's nothing here that says what it's part of. That could be in England for all I know. So, hey, cha-ching. Number 3. A query of PACER, which is a system, if you go online and you Google PACER, where you can look at these court cases and pull these documents off of, shows the accused is registered as a lead attorney. In fact, I need to get that. Jeepers, Bob. Yeah, where is that? Screenshots. Let's look at that real quick. Associated cases, right? Attorneys. Lead attorney, attorney to be noticed, Andrew Charles Mandrella. There he is. But this name was omitted from the civil cover sheet. Well, where is that at? Well, that's right here. Right? It says Andrew Mandrella, ESQ, Civil Rights Clinic. But it doesn't say, it doesn't use his full legal name. Well, why is that? Why isn't it using Andrew Charles Mandrella? Well, because he's simulating a legal process. Right? It's omitted from the civil cover sheet. The accused did not comply with Form JS-44 instructions for Section 1C, which it says on the back, as it says on the form. Use the instructions on the back. Enter the firm name, address, telephone number, and attorney of record. The accused omitted the material fact in naming himself in his full legal name as the attorney of record in a matter under federal question jurisdiction, again offending 18 U.S.C. 1001. It's just an easy one to pick, right? Because it's a false statement. If you omit a material fact or you make a false statement, well, it's a false statement. And that would be fraud. It appears in Section 1C, now pay attention, it appears in Section 1C that the accused claims the title and ability of Esquire by his use of the pseudonym Andrew Mandrella ESQ, which, that's the abbreviation for Esquire, I do believe. Does he claim it to be an Esquire? Army, you need to ask him. Why is that important? Well, the accused is in direct violation of the Constitution. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8, no title and ability shall be granted by the United States. The act of an esquire prosecuting people of the United States in a court of the United States could be construed as treason. In fact, it is treason. It's just we need two witnesses to agree. I'm one of them. Who else would agree that if Andrew Mandrella Esquire is trying to be an esquire, and he was trying to persecute somebody in the United States, that would be treason? I say it is. Use of titles and nobility may even evidence an insurrection, may even, knock on wood, hey, you hear that? May even evidence an insurrection requiring United States Armed Forces to enforce the federal law domestically in accordance with Title 10, United States Code, Chapter 13, Insurrection. Please inform General Dunford of the situation. Accused. All right, so first of all, 4 points. And we only got through the plaintiff. Right? Andrew Mandrella, Esquire, that's not his name. That's either a legal fiction name of a firm, like a sole proprietorship, which is a crime, or he's saying he's an esquire, which is a crime. The accused omitted to list defendant's county of residence. In doing so, the accused acknowledges that the defendants have no legal standing to sue or be sued in civil actions in the United States courts. The accused is terrorizing the people of the United States using false claims. What do I mean by that? Right here, county of residence, first listed defendant. They didn't list one. Well, it's a requirement of the damn form, man. You got to put it down there. You didn't do it. This is how diversity jurisdiction is determined, right? It's a determining factor of diversity jurisdiction, and there's nobody there. And it says please see attached, right, for the defendants. We'll get there in just a second. The accused omits using defendants, right, individuals and business entities' full legal name. None of the civil cover sheet attached listed defendants have legal status to sue or be sued in civil actions in the United States courts. Well, who did he make? Because he said see attached. And, here's the attached. It says so. I didn't say it. They're saying it, page 2 of 2. Here's the defendants. Jones, Alexander, Alex E. We need to stop right there. Hey, that's not his full legal name. He can't be sued in that name. He can only be sued in his full legal name. InfoWars, LLC, a Texas limited liability company, is not the full legal name of InfoWars, LLC. Right? They added to it. That's the addition. This is that addition stuff, right? They made up a legal fiction that doesn't exist by adding this, a Texas limited liability company, to the name of InfoWars, LLC. And they did the same with Free Speech Systems, LLC, and added that to it. So if you went to Texas, Secretary of State, and said, well, let's see how these are registered, right? That isn't the legal name. That's not on the name of the organization. It doesn't say on there a Texas limited liability company. These were added to create legal fictions. Stranahan Lee, well, that ain't quite right. McAdoo Leanne, well, that ain't quite right. Creighton Scott, well, that ain't right. Hawk James Jim, that ain't right. West Allen B, that ain't right. William Derrick, that isn't right. Or Wilburn Derrick. None of those are any of these folks' full legal names, nor is it the proper name of an entity registered with the state to do business in the state of Texas. Right? The dude lied. Right? He accused admitted using defendants, individuals, Alex, and business entities, InfoWars, full legal names. None of the civil cover sheet attached listed defendants have legal status to sue or be sued in civil action in United States courts. So since they're in court, that either isn't a court of the United States or it's or the man that brought them there is committing treason. And if it's not a court of the United States, then what is it? Then the court's a treason. It is a conspiracy against rights, 18 U.S.C. 241, deprivation of rights under color of law, and deprivation of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness without due process of law, in offense of the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution to sue one of the people of the United States in any name other than their full legal name. And they do it all the time, Alex. This is how defendants are always done. This isn't just Alex Jones because he's Alex Jones. This is how it is always done, where they use pseudonyms, unregistered legal fictions, aliases, anything other than the proper identification of the person that they're bringing the charge against, even though they have it. Right? They have access to Alex Xander, whatever his middle name is, Jones's full legal name. Well, let's continue on. The accused claims the basis of jurisdiction as diversity. Basis of jurisdiction. Was that what he said? Basis of jurisdiction. Yes, he did. Diversity. But makes no monetary demand. This be Section 8 requested in the complaint. 28 U.S.C. 1332 mandates that the matter in controversy exceeds $75,000 exclusive of interest and costs, but no such demand is made and no basis of jurisdiction exists. The accused is simulating a legal process as part of a scheme of fraud and swindle against the people of the United States. He is in offense of 18 U.S.C. 1341, which is fraud and swindles, if he used the services of the Postal Service in a scheme. So if he mailed any of these papers to Alex, well, he just violated 18 U.S.C. 1341, fraud and swindles, which has a prison time of 20 years attached to it. Right? He said diversity, but he didn't claim any state, so he can't say that the plaintiff is a citizen of this state. He didn't say what state it is. And he can't say that the defendant is a citizen of a different state because he didn't say what state they were from. And he goes on here, and he said it was an original proceeding. And we get to here, requested in complaint, right? There's a place for a demand, and there's no amount of money in there. Well, 28 U.S.C. United States Code 1332 says it has to be for at least $75,000. Right? But you got to put a price certain or amount certain. Exclusive of interest and cost. But no such demand is made and no basis of jurisdiction exists. Because they didn't ask for any money. Pacer confirms that Andrew Charles Mandrella claims to be lead attorney representing Brennan M. Gilmore in case 318 CB 00017 GEC, Gilmore versus Jones et al., filed in the U.S. District Court, Western District of Virginia, Charlottesville. It appears he is also an active member of the Virginia State Bar. Here are the addresses he uses according to Pacer and Virginia State Bar site. There you are. Well, is that what he's using? Hey. Here it is, right? He says he's the attorney, and this is the address he says that he is using for this plaintiff. Well, that isn't the way he put the plaintiff's name on the paperwork. So he says he's representing this guy, and then he flipped his name around. But even this guy isn't correct because there's no middle name. Now, this thing about full legal name we need to keep in mind because Social Security says that your legal name is just your first name and your last name. even though the Real ID Act says your full legal name is your first name, middle name, last name, no initials. And this is how they've clouded the title to everybody's Social Security account. And just real quick, because I brought it up, I need to show it, because it's one of those things that's a little bit too important not to have shown. Jeepers, man. Legal name, Social Security, RM 10212.001, defining a legal name for an SSN, Social Security card. What is a legal name? For SSA enumeration purpose, a legal name consists of a first name and a last name. The legal name is the name used to sign legal documents. So we know what we're talking about. Legal documents, deeds, and contracts. We do not consider middle name or suffix part of a legal name. Whether the middle name or the suffix is included, omitted, or incorrectly shown on evidentiary documents submitted with an SS5 does not matter. They're not going to acknowledge it. Well, who are they to go against the Real ID Act that says your full legal name is your first name, middle name, last name? But it goes on to say, no, both the middle name and suffix, even if not part of the legal name by SSA definition, right? By SSA definition, who are they to have their own definition? But they do, should be used to resolve situations where identity of the applicant or the number holder is in question. And so this is how they get around it. They say that since a person's middle names or suffix is not considered part of the legal name by SSA, a middle name shown as part of the given name or suffix shown as part of the family name can be omitted or entered in the middle name and suffix fields of the enumeration system. If the applicant has a given name with multiple parts, such as Robert Allen, instead of Robert first name, middle name Allen, but say, okay, well, my given name is Robert Allen, because it is, that's what I was given, and does not allege having a middle name, then the multiple parts should be entered in the first name box. Should be entered as a first name. So if you look at an SS5 form, which is used to get a Social Security card, application for Social Security card, it has on here name, first, middle, last. If you don't put Robert Allen here and Rutluski here, instead put Robert here and Allen in the middle name box, then they're going to say, well, we don't recognize Allen, and say that the owner of this Social Security card is somebody named Robert Allen, or Robert Rutluski, excuse me. However, if I had put it as Robert Allen, Rutluski, then they would say it is. And so this numident record that's created from the information that comes off of this form shows on your Social Security account, even if the card shows Robert Allen Rutluski, it says the legal name of the owner is just Robert Rutluski, clouding the title to the ownership of the property. Which this could all be fixed if the president was president, because he could tell them, well, no, you're going to follow this instead and tell them what to do. But he can't do it because he's just president-elect. Donald John Trump needs to be President Donald John Trump. And we ain't quite there yet. So in conclusion, when the accused, which is an attorney, Andrew Charles Mandrella, or any other man or woman learned in the law, which is, an attorney at law, you need to understand, an attorney at law is an attorney and counselor at law. I guess that's probably the proper name of the office. It's an attorney and counselor at law. Because I can be your attorney, you just need to give me power of attorney. But to be a counselor at law, or any kind of counselor, requires a license. And so attorneys have on file with their state Supreme Court in a thing called the roll of attorneys or something similar. They have enrolled themselves as an attorney, and in that form, they're going to have used their full legal name. If they didn't use their full legal name, well, then they can't do it anyways. It's an invalid contract. But the ones I've seen, they do it in their full legal name. They just don't use their full legal name on the damn paperwork in court. And so I didn't look at this guy's, I didn't look at the complaint to see how the guy did, how Andrew did it, but I probably can. And so we're going to look at it here because I do believe it's online now. I didn't want to pay $6 to download it. On Pacer's 10 cents per page. But because I didn't need it for this, it's like this is all just off of this cover sheet. Right? So, in conclusion, when the accused or any other man or woman learn the law, aka attorney at law, prosecutor, special counsel, what's the guy that's trying to get Trump right now? Robert somebody. I believe he's not using his full legal name, etc. Members of Congress or any other oath-bound individual simulates a legal process against any of the people of the United States, they prove themselves to be an enemy of the United States. And the people are made insecure in their persons, papers, houses, and effects by acts of these domestic terrorists, requiring the immediate arrest of these belligerents. So I was asking to have Andrew Charles Mandrella arrested. The people of the United States comprise the one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the holy name of Jesus of Nazareth, I demand the government of the United States ensure this liberty and administer this justice for the benefit of all God's peoples within the United States. Amen. That's my prayer. Clerk, United States District Court, in accordance with 18 U.S.C. 3041, which we looked at, powers and courts of magistrates, issue all procedural forms required to initiate criminal proceedings under the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure for the arrest of Andrew Charles Mandrella, an accused enemy of the United States. I, Robert Allen Rutluski, veteran of 8 years active duty military service in the United States Army, am still bound by my subscribed oath of an enlisted soldier and am a competent witness in this matter. However, if it's necessary to administer me the oath required to satisfy Rule 4.1 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure, call me at 616-712-6179. Otherwise, you have your orders. Please execute them. Robert Allen Rutluski, 374-506794, veteran, United States Army. That would be me. Okay, we're almost done. That's really what I wanted to do, was show that there and say, hey, Alex, this case, the case they just opened against Trump, the case they opened against my neighbor for foreclosure, the traffic ticket case, all these cases are the same. They're all simulated legal processes under color of law because none of the people pretending to be a judge is doing so in their full legal name. They don't have a proper oath of office. They don't have a proper official bond. They don't have a proper appointment or certificate of election. They're not who they say they are. It's a joke. It needs to stop, and the only ones that can stop them is the military. And I don't know that they need to have a commander-in-chief, but it would be easier, and it would be a lot easier if President-elect Trump would just become president and do the things that need to be done. So what did I want to show you real quick? Just a couple more things. We looked at that. Okay, let's look at the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. See, this is what they're stopping us from doing. The district courts will tell you that a private citizen cannot file a criminal complaint. It has to be a lowercase attorney of the United States, and they never define who that is. I say it's the clerk. That's why I gave it to the clerk. But Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. Here they are. Open it up. We go to Rule 3. The complaint is a written statement of the essential facts constituting the offense charged, except as provided in 4.1. It must be made under oath before a magistrate judge, or if none is reasonably available, before a state or local judicial officer. Okay, it doesn't say anywhere in here that it needs to be an attorney for the United States or no place. And in fact, in the Michigan law, it says that you can, but you still can't get them to do anything with it. And so I'm not calling mine a complaint. I'm saying that's what the attorney does, or that's what the clerk is supposed to do. And I'm basing that on this thing that I never knew existed before. But they have a shitload of these things called federal procedural forms. And what I'm going to show you now is a very old version, because they have new ones. You can find them on Westlaw. They got all sorts of them. Right? The complaint used in a, let's go up one more page to see where we're at. Criminal actions, criminal procedure. District courts of the United States are given jurisdiction of all crimes and offenses cognizable under the authority of the United States. So who are they speaking of there, please? That's what we need to know. Crimes and offenses defined in the United States Criminal Code are within the jurisdiction of the district courts of the United States. Right? Is that the proper name of the court? District courts of the United States? Or is there a different name I need to use? Who do I need to get a hold of? Subscribed and prescribed by Subdivision 41 of Title 28. But nothing in the United States Criminal Code takes away or impairs the jurisdiction of the courts of the several states under the laws thereof. Because the courts of the United States can issue this arrest warrant also for offenses against the United States. But I've tried that and I didn't have any luck. So I'm trying the federal courts now. With reference to crimes, the original Constitution conferred on Congress only the power to define and punish piracies and felonies committed on the high seas and offenses against the laws of nations, United States Constitution, Article 1, subsection 8, clause 10, to provide for punishment of counterfeiting the securities and current coin of the United States, United States Constitution, Article 1, section 8, clause 6. Now, a security of the United States is its seal. And I think they're doing that. To declare the punishment for treason, so forth and so on. Anyways, when you read this, though, here's the complaint. Before me, the undersigned, comma, blank, for the blank of the blank, personally appeared this day, blank. Right? Before me, the undersigned clerk for the United States District Court for the Western District of the U.S. District Court, Western District of Michigan of the United States District Court, whatever it needs to be to fill those blanks in, personally appeared this day, right? That's where your name should go. Robert Allen Ritlewski. That's my point. A clerk is doing this, and I'm the one who, on oath, deposed and says that da-da-da-da-da happened. But the complaint itself is filled out by an officer of the court. Not by me. I'm the informant. Going to give a deposition. I'm giving evidence. See, and this is the thing where they don't allow us to give evidence, because a deposition is evidence. It's sworn to. So it doesn't go to the clerk in the clerk's window. It goes to the clerk in the court's window. Because they put evidence in a different file than they do the pleadings and so forth that go to the clerk. So I don't know what this form is. I don't need to. I want them to fill it out. Right? I want them to comply with, I can't believe I did that. Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. Right? I'm trying to get them to comply with Rule 3. The complaint. Because if they would issue the complaint, then my part is done. And anybody who has a court case against them, right, you can't go and sue these people. They're breaking the law. You need to, only the sovereign can enforce its law. So you need to say they've offended the laws of the United States, which I've shown in many videos before. So I'm not going to go through it again here. I'm just saying this is the idea. is we don't do the complaint, somebody else does. And that somebody else to me is the clerk at the court, acting as the court of chancery, issuing the original writs under the great seal of the sovereign. And the chancellor is whoever has the seal of the sovereign is the chancellor of the court of chancery. And that's all they do. They create the original writ that goes to the court of the king's bench, then, because this is criminal, to have a criminal matter heard. A pleas of the crown. You know, our laws are based on laws of England, and this just comes out of Blackstone's commentaries. Book 3, Chapter 4. See what you're supposed to do in the court of chancery to get an original writ. That's all we're supposed to have to do. Then it should be prosecuted by the attorneys of the United States. And the person that brought it, if they were injured, then are the ex rel plaintiff. But the plaintiff is, you know, the United States of America. Or United States. But not United States of America. Because I'm not from United States of America. That's the democracy. I'm from the republic where I'm self-governing. That's the United States of America. So I don't know what they did with this because, you know, it doesn't show up on Pacer yet, the complaint that I put in. But I did put it in, Alex. I swear to it. And I swear that I sent it to the court that I showed. And brother, if you could just get them, you know, get them guys from the special forces, whoever they are, to just take a look at the obvious. Right? I mailed it. I surely did. To an address that I had for the United States District Court. They got it, and I haven't heard from them yet. So I'm assuming they don't need my to give me an oath over the phone, because I've already given one. I've given them probable cause. They'll just handle it themselves. But we'll have to see what happens to the accused. Andrew Charles Mandrella, who brought a simulated legal process against Alex Jones. So, where is that thing? Here we go, cover sheet. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to stop real quick and go find the complaint and see how the guy signed it, just so I can say that I did it and I put it on the video and, you know, it's not something that I forgot. So hang on a minute. Okay, hey, we're almost done. Thanks for sticking around if you're still here. So here's the complaint. United States District Court for the Western District of Virginia. Right, so that's like a subdivision of the United States District Court. It's not the one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's a subsection. Here's the plaintiff. This place he has him properly, but still, that's not his full legal name. Sure enough, none of these people are in their full legal name. They're really not defendants, right? Those are all John Does. And you don't have to agree to be a John Doe because you do have an identification. It's your full legal name. And if we go, blah, 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 because it's a 178-page complaint, right? Somebody's trying to hide the truth in words, in which they did. And here's a prayer for relief that doesn't mention any amount of money. And as we saw in diversity jurisdiction, it has to be for $75,000 or less. And it's not, in fact, they even say so on the news that they didn't ask for a certain amount. But here, Andrew Mandrella, well, he does not exist. He's claiming to be an esquire, though. And that would make him, that's a title of nobility. He's in the Virginia bar, which means a Virginia bar, to let somebody with a title of nobility be a member, must be an organization that is against the Constitution of the United States. It should be shut down immediately. Georgetown University Law Center. And then Anderson Frankios, whoever the hell he is. Anyways, then it goes on with the exhibits, right? So, none of these exhibits have an exhibit sticker. See, because if If they were true court exhibits, the clerk would put an exhibit sticker on them. That's why it has to go to the clerk that makes your evidence into an evidence of an exhibit of the court so it can be seen. Okay, well, I'm done, guys. I hope that you got something out of this, and I'm tired. So please, if you're in the military and you watched and you agree and you can somehow get a hold of people overseeing what Alex Jones is doing, show it to them. And have them come talk to me. And whatever part they want filled in better, well, I'll do something on that. This isn't difficult. It's just, it's a big lie. It has a lot of pieces. But the answer to the cutting the Gordian knot, because that's all we can do at this point, is for Donald John Trump, president-elect, to be made Donald John Trump president. And then for him to go and enact to ensure that the states have sent representatives for the people, which would be the representatives, and the state, which would be the senators, and that they're there in their full legal name. And that the person that said they came there has done it in their full legal name. Because the governor of your state, he wasn't properly elected either. Nobody is. They don't use their full legal name. Ever. It's the way they block the system. They just, they obstruct justice by keeping all the different avenues closed for justice. Okay, you all have a great day. See you.